Well, greetings, Cap fans, and welcome to episode 244 of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. I'm your host. I'm Rick Verbanis, and I've got a co host. His name is Bob Lucius. Oh, Bob. Well, I'm the type of guy who will never settle down. Well, I roam from town to town. I go through life without a care till I'm as happy as a clown with my two fists of iron, and I'm going nowhere. They call me the Wanderer. Yeah, the Wanderer. I roam around, 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 around.
Very nicely done, Rick. Yeah.
Yeah, do you know who sings that?
I can't, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I unfortunately no, I can't come up with the name.
Dion.
Dion. There it is.
Yeah, Dion and the Belmonts, I believe,
All
was
right.
the band that did the Wanderer, which came out in what year?
74?
No,
No.
1961. Not even close. Not even close.
Worth a shot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And why am I greeting you with a Dion song, Bob?
Because we are covering the origin of Nomad tonight, and Nomad is a bit like a synonym for wanderer.
It is. It is indeed.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, we're going to be covering today Captain America 180, which, as Bob pointed out, 1974 release, and is part five of the series of Cap Becomes Nomad. We've been doing this as our long tail story, which is the second Wednesday of every month. So if you've been following along at home, this is part five. If you haven't, then if you haven't done part four, that was episode 240. And, you just keep going back. But yeah, make sure you do part four first in episode 240 before you come back here. But Bob, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Can I ask you a question? Because
Yeah,
you,
go
you,
for it.
you, you, you jogged my memory here when you said 1961 with Dion. And this is
Hmm.
something that I've discovered like in the last few years, maybe a little bit longer in the last few years. And I wonder if it's just me, but like culturally, when we think of the 1950s, when we think of music and movies and
Hmm.
fashion and culture, I was shocked to realize, and this may seem like just obvious to everyone else, shocked to realize that much of what we think of the 1950s was really early 1960s. Like a lot of the hit 1950s, the songs that we attribute like to the
Hmm.
1950s or the movies or the fashion, or even like when they, when they do like do a movie like Grease or something, right? And we
Uh
think,
huh.
oh yeah, it takes place in the 50s. When like it's really like 1960s,
Mm. So I
because
don't
they're
know.
not like discrete like decades, right? I mean, they're just culture and everything sort of bleeds over.
Mm, I mean, sure. I mean, not like 1959 midnight, on December
Yeah,
31st. All of a sudden,
we
culture
go to
changes.
we go to hippie land,
Yeah, no, I
right?
mean,
Yeah,
it's a gradual thing, of
sure,
course.
yeah.
But see, when I think of the 50s, I think of the movie that took place in the 50s, which was Back to the Future.
Okay, did it take place in the 50s?
Yeah, yeah, because
I
Marty
don't
went
know.
back to because the movie came out in the mid
Yeah,
80s. So
yeah,
he went back to when his parents were teenagers in the 50s.
yeah.
And so this
But like,
was,
well,
now,
that's
now
true.
take Dion, for
Yeah, my
example.
dad was a little bit older, so yeah.
Yeah, Dion was um, one of those heartthrobs. Now that song was 1961, but
Right.
he was one of those in
Yeah.
in the late 50s that started to get noticed, and this was the pre-British invasion.
Right. Yeah.
And do you know what the British invasion
Yeah,
was?
yeah, yeah, yeah. All the Brit bands, right? The Brit
Yeah.
boy bands.
Can you name three?
I can name the Beatles. That's it, buddy. That's all.
This is
That's
me
all.
shaking my head.
That's all I'm going for.
Yeah. Yeah, it was huge. It was a lot more than the Beatles, but the
Well,
Beatles were
really?
the biggest and the best. If you
Yeah.
were to ask many people,
Yeah.
including me, um, I think Rolling Stone fans would probably disagree. But anyway,
Yeah.
we're the Who. But
Who?
whatever.
Yeah.
Uh, um, yeah. So I hear you. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. I think of the '50s, and I think of, the blue jeans with the cuffs at the bottom and the white t-shirts and the
Yeah,
crew
but
cut hair,
right.
you know,
Also in the
and
early 60s, though, right? I
yeah,
mean,
I
the
think we're
fashion was,
I
that's all I'm saying. I'm thinking
yeah.
like when you think of 1950s, you're really thinking like 1955, 1965. It's that decade. It's not like 1950 to 1960.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Yeah. And
I could dig it.
that was like a
I could dig it.
revelation to me. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I do think Marty McFly's father was a little bit younger than mine. I was the youngest of six. So my dad was a little long in the tooth
Mm,
when he had me. So like he graduated from high school in like 51. So, or
mm.
50 actually. So yeah.
I think my dad graduated high school in 55.
Okay. All right. So he was the early 50s
Yeah.
guy.
So to
Yeah.
me, I mean, he probably watched Back to the Future and was like, yeah, yeah, wow, yeah, this was
I
exactly,
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, when you graduated high school, what, 85?
I did. Yes.
Okay.
Barely. But yeah.
That was a few years after that, but still in the 80s. And so yeah, when I see stuff from the 80s, you know, there's certainly some like reminiscent flashback
Yeah.
cringe moments as well,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Uh
We went to, oh, this is great. A little tangent. Mother's Day, we went on a very long walk. Uh, and my wife wanted to go to, you know, she loves the beach. So we went to the beach. We did a very long walk. My son complained the entire time. And then afterwards we went out to dinner at a
can I ask a
local,
question?
yeah.
Is your son taking after you and hating the beach?
Yeah. He actually goes to the beach every weekend. He just doesn't like long walks on the beach,
He just
especially,
hasn't met the right person.
yeah, that's right. Especially when he's hungry. But
Uh-huh.
afterwards, we went to this local like tavern for, you know, for lunch or something, late lunch, and they had video screens all over, and they played nothing but 1980s MTV videos.
Oh
And
yeah,
I was
that's
like
fun.
in heaven,
Yeah.
man.
And your wife was like, I remember this when I was 3.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm singing along, you know, and like dancing in my chair. And she's like, "No, you're embarrassing." You know, the waitresses think you're hitting on them, sort of thing. But I was loving. I was like, I'm coming back here just to watch the video. Food was terrible, but I'm gonna go back just for the videos.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah, I remember let's see. Late 90s, 2000 time
mm-hmm.
period. Uh my first wife and I, we bought our first house and we wanted to have a party and we made it a 1980s theme party. This was 10 years after the 80s ended. And we were like, we're going to have an 80s party.
Woo, nostalgic.
Like
Yeah,
the 80s was already a thing
yeah,
10 years later.
right.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it
yeah.
was such a
Well, in all
weird
fairness,
time.
folks from the '90s were like, "This sucks."
Yeah, so I broke out like a black and white TV with I hooked up my Atari 2600 with
Uh,
Pac-Man on it,
yeah,
and then I had a ton of uh 80s videos that I put in, you know, on the TV and played music and
nice.
people could watch the
Yeah,
videos. And we told everybody dress up like you did in the 80s. So
yeah.
I had my Miami Vice jacket on with the
Oh,
you know, sleeves
yeah,
pushed up, you know,
yeah.
and I had a skinny leather tie
Yep.
and
I
my
pull those pictures out every now and again to show my son.
you have pictures of me dressed like that?
Yeah, I do. Of course, I do. I was
Please
watching
don't show them to your son.
the
That's
whole
just
time,
weird.
the whole time.
Anyway, so some of my neighbors who were I guess like 5, 7 years older than me
Yeah.
and my wife at the time, and they showed up dressed like in the 80s, and and they came fake pregnant, like fake 9 months pregnant. And we're like, well, we were pregnant in the 80s, and they start waddling in. Yeah.
Oh, those are the best high school years.
Oh,
You
oh
know,
man.
only because most of the cheerleaders on my in my high school graduating class were pregnant. You know, by the time we
Ugh,
we graduated, so brings me
yeah,
right back. Yeah.
that's. Hmm. Speaking of Mother's Day, Bob, today, if people are listening when this episode comes out, and that is June 11th, just a few more days. This Sunday is going to be Father's Day. Do you have any Father's Day plans? What does Bobby do for
Oh,
Father's Day for you?
not a lot, Rick. I got to tell you, it'll. I'm out of the game of like I don't like doing the whole reminder thing. So if he gets me a card or something like that's like 100%. So but he did step it up for Mother's Day this year. So he didn't get the card, but he did get something off TikTok for his mom. It was very nice, little engraved gift. So who knows? Sky's the limit for me, buddy.
All right.
But I don't know. They'll make me breakfast or something. Who knows? Maybe make me a pie. A pie guy. So
Mm-hmm.
that'll probably be it. But we're not big into those sorts of holidays. So,
Mm.
and I've already pulled the gift trigger like a month ago. So that's.
What is the gift trigger? Tell us what you mean by that.
Oh, that was the. Oh, honey, look at this. This price is great. This would be awesome. And she would be like, well, how about that for your Father's Day gift? So that was like a month ago.
I gotcha. I
Yeah,
gotcha.
so that's done. That's done. So
All
yeah.
right.
How about yourself?
Oh gosh. Well, my son is still touring, but he finishes like a week or two after.
Mm-hmm.
So he won't be around. I'm hoping that my daughter,
Yeah.
she's finished her first year of college.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So she'll be sometimes at my place, sometimes at her mom's place. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming she'll come by and we'll do
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, in the past, they've done a Hayden and Selena have done some really cool things for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've had like a uh what do they call it, the Olympics. So it's not Olympics, but
Yeah.
Olymp
Yeah.
dash
I got that.
Ricks.
Yeah.
And it was like, here we're gonna do all dad's favorite games. We're gonna play cornhole, we're gonna do air
Mm-hmm.
hockey, we're gonna do Connect Four, we're gonna do and then they made some, appetizers for, that type
Wow,
of thing.
that's
So
nice.
so it wasn't a gift, which I
Yeah.
don't want a gift.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
better than any gift is,
Right.
just the
Yeah.
thought and the time. Another time they did I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan, so they did a Jimmy Buffett themed kind of um, party, and it was just the
Nice.
four of us. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and because I have a pool in the backyard, and so we had like a little bit of like a luau type of thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, they broke out they broke out my Hawaiian shirts, and the kids wore my Hawaiian shirts,
Nice.
and
Nice.
they had all kinds of
Yeah.
things, and then they took my face, and they printed out a life size head of me,
Yeah.
right? And cut it out and then hid it around the yard.
Nice.
And then I had to go around finding my head.
Nice. Yeah.
Uh, and the dad in me was like, "You used my color printer for this?" That's all I could think. I was like, "Do you know how much color ink you just wasted on this?"
Right, right.
Yeah. But the other thing too is June 15th is not only Father's Day, but it's my son's birthday.
Oh my goodness.
And
Yeah.
so Father's Day has always been
Mm-hmm.
secondary to my
Yeah, of
son's
course.
birthday because,
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean,
It's
your
his
kid's
birthday.
birthday is way
Right.
more important than Father's Day.
Right.
But God forbid. I mean, listen, if he was born on Mother's Day, we all know Mother's Day would have been up here.
Yeah, that's
I think
important.
fathers
Right.
get,
Yeah.
we're like the
Yeah.
second class citizens,
That's true.
you know?
That's true. That's true. Oh well, that sounds great. I'm sure they'll have something up their sleeve, even if Hayden can't be there because he's touring. I'm sure.
Eh,
Sure,
we'll
he's.
see.
I'm sure
We'll
they're
see.
probably. It's a great thing with. That's the terrible thing with like having a single kid. There's nobody for them to strategize with. So I think
Yeah.
I'm gonna see what I can do about getting another one.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get one online or something.
yeah. I hear there's a whole bunch of them out there. You can probably rent.
Probably get one. Yeah, get one
Yeah.
cheap. We almost adopted one. So I told you that, right? Yeah, when we
I
were
don't
in
know if I know this.
if we were in Vietnam, there was a young girl that we sponsored. She was probably 8 or 9 at the time, and we
Hmm.
sponsored her. She was at a local orphanage, and we would go every weekend or every other weekend and bring her stuff and supplement her, the food that she would get, and bring her books and toys and clothes and stuff like that for years. And we really did want to adopt her. And we inquired about it, but her grandparents were still alive. and they lived up in a village way up. Both her parents were deceased, but her grandparents were alive. They live in a village up near the Cambodian border, and they weren't willing to sign the documents that would allow us to take her out of
Mm.
the country because in their culture, someone has to tend the graves of the ancestors and do all that ancestral worship. That's part of their culture, and they were afraid that if she went to America and assimilated in America, she wouldn't fulfill those obligations. So
Interesting.
yeah, yeah.
No,
So
well, first of all, I think it's amazing that you and Casey did that. So kudos to you guys for helping out a young girl who no doubt benefited from all of that.
well, yeah, she's
Um,
out of college now, so
that's great.
it's amazing, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still stay in touch?
We do, yeah. We supported her for years. Even when we moved back in the U.S., we sent checks through the orphanage and helped get her through college, and then
That's awesome.
we sort
That's
of lost
really
track
nice.
after that. So I'm sure she's married and probably has a family of her own by now.
Mm,
So
indeed. Well, you know what? That's great. That's
yeah.
fantastic. There needs to be more people like you and Casey doing the Lord's
Mm,
work.
well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what? All that being said, we should probably get into some violent comic book.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I like that.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
All right. I'm going to pull my copy off of the
Working off
spinner
the
rack
big
here.
big omnibus here tonight. So
That is big.
a bit of a hernia there. Just
Can
looking
you
at
say,
it.
what did you call that again?
Omnibus?
Is it bis or bus?
Omnibus. I guess it's
Omnibus.
omnibus. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like saying omnibus. It's fun.
Oh, that's your Munster.
Omnibus.
All right, Bob, do you want to take the listeners through this amazing cover?
It is an amazing cover, right, Rick? I mean, it's iconic for lots of reasons, but it is, Captain America and the Falcon cover. And we've got right there, we see an amazing transition from Captain America in the background to a newly minted hero we haven't seen before. That we're going to learn about in this issue, a man called the Nomad. And in between those two characters, we see Steve Rogers basically stripping off his Captain America costume in transitioning into this new character of Nomad. And he's doing that as he's charging toward a couple baddies that are wielding handguns. And when I say baddies, I mean like bad guys, not baddies like my 15-year-old son would use that term, which are like sexy ladies. So we're talking like bad guys with handguns. And I guess there's three of them because one's off camera and we just see the handgun at the lower left of the cover. So it's a simple cover when you really think about it, but it's complex because we have that transition of Captain America into this new hero. So, when folks see this cover, they know that this is an iconic cover that they're going to want to have in their collection.
Indeed. And how would you describe the costume that this Nomad character is wearing?
Well, here on the cover, it is it's strikingly different than what we know and love about the Steve Rogers character of Captain America. It is all black or maybe midnight blue, and it has a very plunging neckline, I guess is the way to describe it. A V-shaped plunging neckline. that goes down to really just around his solar plexus,
Mm-hmm.
which is an odd fashion statement for
Really is.
for a hero. And he's got the Buccaneer boots, but instead of being red, they are dark blue. And he's got gauntlets, but instead of the red gauntlets, they're dark blue as well. So they go with the blackish bodysuit that he's wearing, and here on the cover at least he's got a cape that appears to be that same color blue as his gloves and his boots on one side, but the underside is the crimson red, and it's attached to either side of his neckline by these red discs. So it's a striking uniform, and of course he's got the domino mask as well.
Mm-hmm.
That way we don't know who it actually is.
Yeah, it's interesting. The colors on this costume on the cover are different than the colors of the costume inside.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, very very different. Um, and yeah, you mentioned that it's Captain America changing his outfit into this. There are five versions of Steve Rogers on the cover, and going the one in the middle. It's like, how did he go from Captain America uniform to that? Like there's a little
Right. Yeah. We're showing some shoulders there
yeah.
too. Right. Yeah.
Do you think I gotta say, do you think Steve Rogers shaves his chest?
I don't know. Maybe it's just so light that you can't see it.
Hmm.
Right? He's
It's
blonde
like a
after
peach
all.
fuzz.
Yeah, it's like a peach fuzz sort of thing.
I
He's a
gotcha.
real blonde.
All right. 25 cents get you this comic back in 1974. The release date was September 10th, but the cover date was December of 1974. And the creators for this now for the cover, by the way, is Gil Kane, inked by Frank Giacoya. You know how you can tell it's Gil Kane?
How right?
Take a look at the one of the henchmen on the bottom,
Uh-huh.
the one facing us.
Yep.
You see the nostrils.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a Gil Kane thing right there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
totally Gil Kane. He that's a surefire tell right there, my friend. And the creators for the book is written by Steve Englehart and penciled by Sal Buscema. So this is the same team that has been working on it for years now. Inked by Vince Coletta, colorist Linda Lessman, letterer Tom Oshasowski, and editor Roy Thomas. All right, we open up to the opening splash page, one gigantic panel, and the title to this one is.
The coming of the Nomad.
And I really think it's cool that the A in Nomad is the A on Cap's mask.
You're right. That's a clever use of the lettering.
Yeah. I mean, because I was wondering, why is Nomad bending down? Like, why is it starting to droop? And then I was like, oh, well, that's because they wanted it to fit Cap's mask. And then there's a little asterisk there. Very, very Thunderboltsy of
Yeah,
them
you're
to.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. And the asterisk, do you want to read what that is for?
Yeah, it says in the bottom right, there's an editorial note that says special thanks to Martha Dukeshire for naming that stunning concept.
And do you know who Martha Dukeshire is?
I do actually. I like to do my research. So
Look at
yeah,
you. Look at you. I'm so
yeah.
proud.
So that was Steve Englehart's girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, that's true.
What a great man! That's a nice call out. Thanks, hubby, your friend, boyfriend. Thanks for immortalizing me.
Mm-hmm. Presenting the most astoundingly different Cap saga yet. But don't take our word for it, Marvelite. Read on and find out for yourself. Excelsior! At last, he feels he has found his destiny. Captain America lies behind him, buried in the rubble that is politics, 1974. But a life as a new breed of hero, a hero free to be his own man. Ah, that lies ahead. And Steve Rogers quickens his pace to reach it. And so we've got Steve Rogers in his civilian identity. Can you describe his outfit, Bob?
Yeah, yeah. So he's got a very 1970s short sleeve red collared shirt on, and those short sleeves are short indeed because they truly highlight his bulging biceps.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had, I mean, I remember my mom used to make shirts like these for us boys in the family. There were four of us. She made a lot of our clothes, and we had a lot of shirts that looked a lot like this. But what really, I think does this outfit justice is his blue herringbone pattern pants. That are
Mm-hmm.
quintessentially 1970s, right? So
Oh yeah.
that crosshatch pattern on the pants of a midnight blue, set off by a nice brass belt buckle.
I'm sure like Vince Coletta was like, oh, why did you have to do this? It's a lot of work. And in the background, as I mentioned, is Cap's head, uniformed head, and he looks distressed. But Steve Rogers looks happy. We turn the page, and Steve Rogers is thinking of the last several days. Nuts to the whole blamed Washington crew. They've had their vision of America, and I've had mine. But I won't have to be associated with theirs anymore. It took Hawkeye, disguised as the Golden Archer, to snap me out of my doldrums and make me realize that I'm still a superhero, even if I won't call myself Captain America. And I can go back to that crazy life I love. I remember the vision predicted I wouldn't be able to live without adventure, and I guess he knew me pretty well. When was that, Bob?
Well, that was back in issue 176, just a mere 4 issues ago.
Okay, then. What do I want to call myself? But a car almost hits him,
Scream!
and the taxi driver leans out of the window. Hey, Space Turkey, why ain't you looking where you're walking? Sorry, mister. I was just thinking. You ain't supposed to think we're in the middle of the road, Aristotle. You're supposed to get out of my way. Well, all right. I'm feeling too good to give you an argument. Hey! And he does a little somersault off the top of his cab, and then he he does another twist, and he bounces, and he's hopping from car to car. So I'll get out of your way just as fast as I can. Hey, are you out of your bird? Nope, just full of juice and cutting loose. Hey,
That's awesome. I'm going to start using that one.
wow, that's got to be Robert Redford? Next page. Well, since an uproarious Steve Rogers isn't hanging around the Manhattan thoroughfare, there's no reason for us to do so, particularly not when a more secluded road in the great state of Virginia is about to witness thrice as much action. Meet the villainous Viper, the man who began the whole Moonstone conspiracy. What's that, Bob? The Moonstone conspiracy?
And that was back in issue 163, Rick.
Yeah, but what was that?
Well, that was when Quentin Hardiman used the baddie known as Moonstone as a new American hero in order to discredit Steve Rogers as Captain America.
That's right. And we covered that as our long tail story before this one. So make sure you check those out if you haven't already. So now it's my turn for the grand juries and subcommittees, huh? I think I'd rather have stayed where I was on the Serpent Squad rap. You know what they say? Just like a good neighbor, the state pen is there. Did they say that, Bob?
I didn't realize they had that tagline back then. That's an
Yeah.
old tagline.
State Farm, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
It's funny is all right, I could totally getting this wrong, but it they had it for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went away, and then they brought it back. I want to say my boss's boss, who came to work at the company I work for now, maybe 3 years ago, he used to work for an agency, and he was on the account of State Farm, and he was the one who made the decision to bring it back.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't really pay attention. I got insurance and I'm not looking for insurance, but I know those commercials, right? And I know that tagline because it sticks with you. So
It does.
great choice.
Say, your name isn't Virginia Slim by any chance? None of your ad man lip, Viper. Your snappy patter won't keep us from delivering you and the district in plenty of time for a bomb.
Yeah. And it blows up and it goes bomb.
Look out! Don't get your hopes up, Con. Whatever your buddies are trying to pull, this car was specially designed to withstand just about anything under the sun. Yes, indeed, officer. Just about anything. That dart, spraying acid or something. It shattered the bulletproof glass. No, not acid. It's a gas of some sort. Burning my face, my eyes. We have to get out. Too bad, Marshal, for you can see the inevitable next step as clearly as we can. You know that once you're forced from your protection, your unseen enemy will play the trump. And the 3 federal officers are gunned down. But Viper, who's still miraculously in his costume for some reason, and a trench coat over top of it, is standing there handcuffed. They're dead. The Serpent Squad must have come for me. But who's that, Bob?
It's Madam Hydra.
It is. It's Ophelia Sarkeesian.
That's a mouthful.
Indeed. In the manner of speaking, Viper. Though before I was forcefully retired from the leadership of Hydra, I was Madam Hydra. When did that happen, Bob?
Well, that was way back in Captain America 113, Rick.
Yeah. Matter of fact, we haven't seen Viper since 113, which was in 1969. So this is actually 5.5 years later. This is the next appearance of Viper. But now I reject my previous name to take up the struggle for serpent supremacy, for the triumph of terror over the forces of so-called civilization. Now I take the nom de guerre of Viper. Won't that cause confusion in the marketplace? I mean, I'm the Viper too. Say, listen, if you'd like me to change my name, well, what's in a name after all? Silence! I know you can read your fate in my eyes. But do not deceive yourself that your glib capitalist tongue can sway me from my mission. And she fires at him, Bob. Ah! I care nothing for death, yours or anyone's. If my plans go awry, I have no doubt that the forces of your society will serve it up to me. So it means nothing to me to serve it up to you. In truth, very little means anything to me, fool. I've seen too much of life to have illusions regarding of its importance. You stood in my way, and since I held the weapon, you died. Had it been the other way around, I would be lying in the dirt. There is no meaning here, only happenstance. We are but the pawns of the greater forces in society. I fight for nihilism, and shall continue to do so, until I, in turn, am cut down. Now you will never have a chance to betray the new Serpent Squad. Her voice is flat, emotionless, completely devoid of either pleasure or remorse. Methodically, she begins to strip the Viper's costume from his corpse. While back in the Virginia State Penitentiary, another scene of sinister import is simultaneously underway. Who's there, Bob?
Well, this appears to be a young lady by the name of Princess Python.
How would you describe what she's wearing?
Well, she is wearing a full body suit, but the arms and the legs have a sort of light greenish snake skin appearance. And then, of course, over her torso, sort of like down to mid calf, and I'm sorry, mid thigh and mid arm, is a darker green coloring.
Yeah,
But
and
she's the youngest girl with longish hair and tied in a ponytail.
mhm. Yeah, she's this is also an early appearance for her. Maybe like the 10th appearance or something like that. She debuted in Amazing Spider-Man 22 back in 1965. So she's been in like so Avengers, Thor, Iron Man, Daredevil, and then here she is. And she has this gigantic python. How big would you say this python is?
That python is it looks to be about a foot around. So I'm sorry, not like a foot thick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wrapped around a police officer or a prison guard, and with a lot of extra snake unencumbered. So it looks to be a good 15, 16 feet long.
Yeah, I might even go maybe a little more.
Yeah, it could be.
That's it, my precious. Let the guards know what power slithers to the command of Princess Python. And then she's now going to a jail cell that has two criminals behind the bars, and they're still in their getup for some reason. Who are they, Bob?
Well, we've got Cobra and Eel.
Yes. Now, Cobra, this is Klaus Voorhees. You might remember him from the last fantasy draft, Bob.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, he was part of my team. And this is also a very early appearance. He debuted in 1963 in Journey of Mystery 98. So he was a Thor villain for like 5 or so issues. And then he was also in Daredevil for 4 issues. And then we saw him in Captain America 163 in 1973. And here we are almost a year and a half later. And then Eel, this is Leopold Strike. So we've seen him before in Captain America. He was in Captain America 158, 159, 163. So he's no stranger to Captain America. And Cobra is surprised to see what's going on. Princess Python. Hey, Eel, can this be what I think it is? Yes, Cobra. You two are to be liberated the name of the reborn Serpent Squad. Far out. I told you my brother would come up with something when they took him to Washington. Your brother has nothing to do with your escape, Eel. My python and I work with another, and she is attempting to liberate him too at this very moment. No need to bother him with the truth. If you don't wish to be freed by me, I'm no chauvinist, lady. You lead, I follow. Good. Remember that. Then beware, world. The Serpent Squad lives again. And they rush out of a hole in the wall in the prison. So now that we've set everything up, let's go back to the star of this book, whom we find in Sharon Carter's apartment the following day. And he's on the phone. Hello, Commissioner? Sir, I'm tying up the loose threads for my life as Captain America, and I suddenly realized, and the Commissioner just cuts him off, that you never formally quit the police force. Cap, Steve, you did your job and much, much more for us. I never expect you to stay around as long as you did. Good luck, son. Thanks for everything. Thank you, Commissioner. And just like that, Bob, in 3 panels, it was a loose end that Steve Englehart's had for a little while now. He's just
Wrapped
tied
it
it
up.
up.
Yeah.
Now that went smoothly. And who walks through the door, Bob?
Well, it's Sharon Carter.
Well, it is her apartment.
Makes sense.
Steve, I didn't expect to find you here. Oh, hi, honey. I needed some privacy to make a few phone calls, so I let myself in. Running up my phone bill again, huh? Now, Bob,
Those are the days.
right?
Yeah.
Do you remember having a roommate and then getting the monthly phone bill and like like this one was mine, this one
Right.
was yours, this is how much you owe, this is how much. Do you remember doing that?
Yeah, of course. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I remember traveling too. And, my mom would be like, well, call me when you're there. And I'm like, I got to call collect, like from
Yeah,
Nepal. So, and that'd be like $100 5-minute phone call or something. Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm sure I was one of a million people who had the old trick of calling collect, and then
Right.
you
Yeah.
they'd say, um, we have Richard on the line. Do you accept the charges? Hey, mom, I'm fine. Talk to you later. Bye. And she'd be like, no, and hang up.
Right. Oh, goodness. Those are the days.
Yeah. No problem. The call to Timbuktu didn't last over an hour. But guess what? Look at that. Steve has a sense of
He
humor.
really does. Yeah. A little phone humor, phone bill
Timbuktu.
humor.
But guess what, Sharon? I've decided to work out a new costume identity. That Golden Archer business we went through was only a trick of Hawkeye's to show me I'm still the best crime fighter in town. Stars and stripes or no? Oh, and she turns and unpacks the grocery bag. That's nice. Sharon, what's the matter? I thought you'd be pleased. Pleased? That you want to start dividing your time between me and your job again? Oh, yes, Steve. I'm ecstatic. But I thought you liked my being a hero. When I had no choice, what else could I do? You were firmly established as Cap by the time we met, and if I was going to love you, I was going to accept that. But when you quit, a new world opened up. We had more time to be together. I could invite you for dinner and you'd show up. We could make plans a week in advance and they'd come off. Oh, Steve, I didn't push you into quitting, but since you did, I've never been happier. I I hadn't looked at it that way. But Sharon, this is something I was born for. I was going to ask if we could go to your parents' place in Virginia to be alone together while I worked on this. You go if it means that much to you, but I won't go with you. Silently, they part, and silently, Steve Rogers walks away. But in his head, louder and louder, screams the perpetual question, the one he must ever ask and never answer. Why must it always be like this? Why won't my life come together? Why? Meanwhile, in a near unbearingly humid warehouse on the outskirts of Georgetown, and we have Viper standing over a desk where three characters are there, which is the escapees, Cobra and Eel, as well as Princess Python. Welcome, brothers, to the reformation of the Serpent Squad. We shall come to work swiftly and well together under my leadership, unless either of you objects to my supremacy. If so, speak now. The heck with that, lady. I don't care who's in charge, as long as they've got their act together. What I want to know is why you're wearing my brother's costume, and where he is. I regret to inform you that your brother, the Viper, died in a valiant battle against the forces of order. There was nothing I could do. Jordan dead? Oh, Lord, he was all I had. Control yourself, Eel. You will have your revenge. I myself have adopted his symbol and name as a memorial. We shall all have our revenge. I grew up alone, struggling for survival with none to guide me and none to care. Crime consumed me, and I clawed my way to the rank of Supreme Hydra in one of Hydra's arms. I was leading the ultimate assault on Captain America and his partner Rick Jones when I was hurled into limbo by the Space Phantom and spared the death that appeared to be mine that day. Bob, when did that happen?
That was in Avengers 107, Rick.
My Hydra forces were destroyed, and in fear of Hydra's vengeance, I went underground, hiding again as if I had all my life, until I came to see I had to fight back and either destroy this world that so oppressed me or be destroyed myself. I sought a sister serpent who was similarly searching for escape from her previous life. And she's referring to Princess Python. Turn the page. And then I sought the serpent quad to act as your troops, your pawns. Hardly, woman. The human cobra is his own man. Meaning that you are the natural leader of this squad? Meaning exactly that, female. Despite my name, I am not entirely human, and I strike with the speed and surety of the king cobra himself. But the viper is no less quick, you fool, and she is every bit as deadly. And she wiggles her way out of his grasp and hits him.
Oh,
Had I my fangs, you'd not have lived to strike the floor. As it is, only my extreme desire to see you admit your error keeps me from using a lethal dart on you, instead of one dipped in paralysis venom. And then she gets out a little straw,
yeah, little pea shooter.
yeah, and she sends a dart at him. The viper rules this nest of snakes, Cobra. The eel and the python agree. Do you? And he falls to the ground. Do you? Yes. Good. Then listen, we have a mission. I tell you no more about it now, in case your conversion might crumble and lead you to the law. But you may believe you will never regret joining us. 24 hours pass, and Steve Rogers has left New York in all its confusion for the quiet green of the Virginia hills, and a most important time in his tumultuous life. And he's there in a business suit, coat and tie, with his briefcase, or as Bob likes to say.
It's an attache case, Rick.
Mm.
I had a discussion with the postman today about attache cases. So
So it must be true.
it must be true.
So there he is, walking up the steps to the house of um, Sharon's parents. Mr. Carter, I'm. Of course, Steve. Sherry's spoken of you often. Welcome to our home. She told you then that I'm in the middle of a big project? Certainly. And that you take your work very seriously. Go on up, my boy. None of us will bother you. So Cap goes into his room and appears to lock the door. The Carters are a great family, and after both Sharon and Peggy's jobs as secret agents, they must be used to their daughter's strange friends. This is going to be fine. Now I have all the time in the world to work out my new alter ego, and there's nothing left to hold me back. So he gets down to it. Hours come and go, as do 3 pads of paper. And you see all the drawings that he's crumpled up and put into the trash can. He's got a couple tacked up on the wall, or not wall. He's got a couple spread out on the bed, and he's still drawing some more. Never realized before how much effort I was spared through the government's giving me my costume. I keep trying to design something fantastic, but I'm just kidding myself. If I hadn't liked the basic cut of my capsuit, I'd have over a decade to change it, and I didn't. This is the design I want. Not much different from the old one. Still, I'm pretty different from what I was, and I'll need a name that reflects it. Since I'm getting away from the red, white, and blue, I've already picked this all-weather fabric in somber tones. So the name should be something dark, mysterious. I hope a bat doesn't fly in my window, or I'll be in big trouble. Yeah, and so will Marvel for copyright infringement. No, something that means adventurer, like Daredevil. What about the privateer, the swashbuckler? Nope, not quite right. And everybody will call me Swash for short. The freebooter? That was more of a ring to it. I am free. But no, it sounds too much like a pirate. Come to think of it, most words for adventurer sounds like pirates. Maybe I should change from Captain America to Captain Blood. I think I've been cooped up in this room too long. It's time to pick up my boots and gloves anyway. Vacant eyed, inward peering, he makes his trip to the nearest village without once forgetting the search for a moniker. It could be that I'm looking in the wrong direction. Instead of thinking adventurer, I should brainstorm a bit with wanderer. And I'm a wanderer, and I'm a wanderer. You didn't pick up on that, Bob.
I did, but I wasn't going to sing it.
Oh.
But I was singing it inside. That's where it counts.
Yeah, I've cut myself loose from the ties to the past, made myself a man without a country, in quotes.
Indeed. Yeah.
Well, there's the gypsy. Darn, I wish I'd thought to bring a thesaurus. Uh, vagrant, migrant, hobo, bum. No way, not classy enough. Hey, speaking of classy, you know one thing I always did want on my costume was a cape. Sure, why not? Those guys with capes always look great. And though I'm not out to strike terror in anyone's heart, the job does call for some style. Sure, a cape. And that does it. I'm all set to go. And all of a sudden, the name just hit me. This is the birth of the Nomad. What do we see there, Bob?
We see a whole page splash of him from head to toe in his new attire as the Nomad. But,
Yeah.
Instead of, as you pointed out earlier, instead of on the cover where his cape had some red lining and his boots and his gloves were red and those discs holding
No, his
his
boots
cape.
and gloves were dark.
Oh, you're right. I'm
matched,
sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, they were dark.
But his
blue.
belt and his discs were red.
Right. Yeah. Here, everything, all that accent pieces are yellow.
What do you think of that costume?
Well, for obvious reasons, cape, probably could do without. I'm not so sure about that whole plunging neckline that goes all the way down to his waist, but it is the 70s, and it is the early 70s. And so there was a lot of like really big collars and, V-shaped necklines in 70s types of shirts. So maybe it was just fashion at the time.
I wore an onion on my belt. It was a fashion at the time. You know who that is?
No, it does sound familiar though.
That's Grandpa Simpson. And that is the end of part 1. All right, turning a couple of pages. Actually, I got to get through 4 pages here. Part 2. Time, that evening. Place, read the sign. Person, a guy named Roscoe. All right, they don't need to get all like snarky here. Where's the place? Read the sign.
What are you, blind?
Yeah, the sign says welfare office, Sam Wilson. And who's Roscoe, Bob?
Well, Roscoe worked at the gym where Steve Rogers. He worked at the gym. He was like the gym guy.
Yeah.
Where Steve worked out.
With the really bad accent.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't this a kick in the teeth? I bend the rules to scam Mr. Rogers' address in the gym registry, and then he ain't home. But heck, if I lived in a welfare office, I'd travel a lot too. I didn't know things were so bad for him. Sure wish I could have found him. He's the perfect choice. Look what he's reading. And it's a newspaper, Bob. What's it say?
It says on a headline says Cap quits.
Perfect choice for what, kid? Huh? Who? What? Holy crow! The Falcon! What kind of luck is that? Luck? What are you talking about, my man? Why, I was just thinking about Captain America and up pops his partner. Well, I patrolled this section on town pretty thoroughly. It's not hard to run into me up here. But there's one mistake you made, amigo. The Falcon has nothing to do with Captain America anymore. Oh, yeah, I know. He's quit, but that's just the point. You know, all these guys that have been trying to become the new CA? Well, the new CA? Like, we had this conversation before, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
right.
who's calling Captain America
I,
a CA?
I think they just couldn't fit it.
I
Right.
agree. Well, I'm going to do it. That's where Mr. Rogers comes in. He's the best gymnast I ever seen. So if I can get him to be my trainer. What? You want Steve to train you to be Captain America? That's the craziest thing I ever heard. Why don't you go on home, kid? It's getting late. And if you're going to dream, you might as well be in bed. Yeah? And why don't you go suck a peach, bird brain? We'll see who's dreaming. That was pretty harsh.
It is.
By
Yeah, Sam. For the maybe he's been working in social work for too long, then he's burned out. I don't
yeah.
know, but he could have had a lighter touch, maybe.
Yeah. If you're going to dream, you might as well be in bed.
Get
Wow,
out.
I got to
Yeah.
remember that one.
Yeah. Right.
Next page, and we see Steve in his new Nomad costume hopping around on the rooftops late at night. Night, and the streaming air over Washington, D.C. turns the air to ripping, limpid gold. Suddenly, against the gold, there comes a compact mass of shadows, a thrilling figure of the night. The Nomad is on the prowl. Washington, what better place to begin the life of the Nomad, since the life of Captain America ended here? I don't remember feeling exactly the way I do now since I first became Captain America way back in 1941. No, not even when the Avengers pulled me from the ice. It's like being reborn, with all the lies of the past in the past, with a clear future waiting ahead, full of anything I want to fill it with. Look out, world. Tonight? Wait, what's that? On the street. Somebody's being kidnapped by a lot of old supervillains. Who is it, Bob?
It appears to be the Serpent Squad.
And they're in front of a movie marquee.
Yeah, it's a premiere.
Of?
Captain America.
Stop them! Stop them! Don't let them take my husband! Instantly, the Nomad swings into action, tasting the rushing air like a fine wine before a long awaited feast. And it's not to be wondered at that he's overlooked the title of the movie he's about to see. Who in blue blazes is this guy? Don't stand there gawking. Into the theater, now! And sure enough, yeah, Cap's swinging down with his cape flying in the air. It's a very dramatic entrance. No one takes our prize from us. No one. Hey, you can't. Tell the police I could have killed you, lackey, but the Serpent Squad treats the people well. And then inside the theater it's a crowded theater, and on the screen we see Captain America in World War II, and then over top of that is a voice from the movie. Recently, the people of America suffered a great loss with the retirement of the most impressive symbol of liberty ever conceived, Captain America. Look out, something crazy's going on. This film, a compilation of newsreel footage shot over the past 30 years, will attempt to show what made this entirely young man the living legend he still is, and is respectfully dedicated to him wherever he may be now.
What is a compilation?
Did I say it wrong?
No, that's what it says. It does say compilation. I don't know what that is.
I don't know, Bob. I just read this stuff.
I'm going to use that one. That's going in my book. Compilation.
So they're up on the stage. So this is one of those old theaters that doubles as a stage theater and a movie theater.
Right. Yeah.
And so they're on the stage with the big screen behind them, and they're dragging away this guy, but Nomad swings in and knocks the Cobra down. Now that's an ironic comment to make my new entrance on. You got the Cobra, smart guy, but next you're going to get creamed. Criminals everywhere on the streets or in high office trembled at his name. The name of Captain America. You pigs killed my brother, but my electroblast will get you. And he fires some sort of blast. No thanks, mister. And by the way, the name's Nomad. And he punches him so hard that he goes flying backwards. And Steve reiterates, Nomad. What are the things that keep a man going year in and year out against impossible odds? In an interview with Cap made several years ago, he said, my work is both exciting and never done. No matter how often I ring the curtain down on 1 minute, another always rears its ugly head before I can even catch my breath. All I can do is stand firm, try to take things as they come, and believe what I'm doing is right. Now, during all of this, there's a fight going on. And Cap takes the curtains and he throws them over Viper. Madam Hydra. No longer Nomad. Now I am the Viper, and your death. I never saw a more cocksure crew of killers. Strike, Precious, strike. And she sends the big python after him. And Cap's holding back the gaping jaws that are about to come down on him. We cut to the next page, and Cap throws the python at Princess Python. Arrogant fool. Did you think one kick could fell the Cobra? You have much to learn. Actually, Cobe, I know a lot more about you than you think. And he takes him and flips him. You'll have to wonder about when, but we have met before. And as he's running towards him, he steps on his own cape, causing him to trip, and then he falls head first.
Face plants. Wham!
He tripped over his cape. I always knew I'd see someone do that someday. Quickly, while he's dazed, we can escape. And they drag the prisoner out with them. And so they can, as two slightly fuzzy speakers proclaim more and more about Captain America, and the Nomad realizes why Cap wasn't given a cape. And he takes it as he's waking up, and he rips the cape off. Okay, I made a mistake, but I can live with that on the first time out. Next time, that group is going to get exactly what's coming to them. And whoever they kidnapped is going to go free. I swear it. And he clenches his fist and his teeth. Steve Rogers is not a man who often swears, either in anger or promises. But when he does, his whole soul lights up every syllable. If the cloistered occupants of the dingy warehouse knew exactly where Steve Rogers' head was at the right now, they would most definitely skip town. However, this is not the case. So our final look at them for this month find them looking more towards the future than the past. And so they're sitting around a crate, and Viper is standing there holding the tied up man. Okay, Viper, we played commando just the way you wanted. Now we want to know who we grabbed and why. And Princess Python speaks up. Why not, Vi? These two have proven themselves, even the Cobra. Why, you... Silence, both of you. I will not stand for fighting within the squad. But I shall explain the significance of what we have done tonight. This man is the president of Roxxon, the monstrous oil conglomerate. Good Lord! And we have need of his knowledge and resources. When I say we, I speak of ourselves and one other, a silent partner in our enterprise, hitherto unknown to any but myself. I speak of, and we turn the page, and who's standing there, Bob?
Oh my God, it's Warlord Krong.
The warlord Krung, my dear. Krang. Krang? Krang? What is it?
I don't know. It's probably Krang.
The warlord Krang, my dear. Krang, exiled noble of fabled Atlantis herself, who shall achieve his most stunning triumph through the aid of your industrialist, yourselves, and the seven-headed serpent crown of lost Lemuria. In but a few days, my friends, we shall rule the world. Phew! Krang and Steve and Sal just got through with Krang over in this Avengers. But don't get confused, Pilgrim. The next ish is like nothing you've ever seen before. Be here for No Longer Asleep in the Deep. And who is Krang, and how would you describe him?
Well, as he said, he is Atlantean, so he was a member of the Atlantean army at a time when Namor's grandfather was on the throne, was a captain, fought in World War One, World War Two, and eventually, when Namor became king of Atlantis, he formed a splinter group, and so he has been a nemesis of Namor for many many years.
Indeed. And you left out one big important thing, I'd like to think. He's blue.
Oh yeah. Well, Atlanteans are blue, right?
Yeah, well, I asked you, how would you describe him?
Well, yeah. Well, so he's yeah, so he's blue, but you only see his head really, right? Because he's wearing a costume and it's yellow and green. So the legs are sort of an olive drab and his gauntlets are olive drab and he's got green boots and he's got a red cape. But his sort of the main part of his uniform, which covers his torso and his briefs, are canary yellow with a red disc in the middle, almost like the rising sun. But what's
Mm-hmm.
really interesting about him is he's Atlantean, so he can breathe underwater, but not above water. So he has a fishbowl helmet.
He does. Yeah, and of all the characters in this story, so Madam Hydra, Eel, Princess Python, and um, the original Viper, and Cobra, believe it or not, Krang has appeared in more comics leading up to this point.
Sure, yeah.
He's spent a lot of time in Tales of Astonish in the Namor stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. He first appeared in the Fantastic Four Annual Number
Fantastic
One,
Four.
1963. So he's been around for over a decade at this point. All right, Bob, what did you think of this story?
Well, it like I said, we said at the beginning, and the cover's iconic, but the story's iconic as well, right? This is the first time that Steve has picked up an alter ego, and if you were to read the Let's Wrap with Cap letters in this issue, you could sense that there was a lot of panic at the time, a lot of resignation, a lot of panic about where this story was leading and if somebody else would become Cap, if Steve Rogers would cease being a hero. But it is revealed in this story finally that, in fact, he's going to pick up an alter ego and become Nomad, and so we get to see that unfold here. So it's a great story, and who doesn't love to see Madam Hydra, aka Viper, right? Come back. She's such an interesting character with her belief system. And it does leave that little teaser out there, right? What's going to happen next? What's this big plan that's unfolding?
Indeed. Yeah, she's a nihilist. This may be the first time that that's mentioned too. So there's a lot of firsts that actually happened in this story, Bob.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's an interesting story. I think I love that Steve Englehart pulls these characters out of nowhere and just keeps bringing them back.
Mm-hmm.
He does that a lot, and we all know I'm a big fan of Madam Hydra.
Hmm.
So I appreciate him bringing her back because I think she is definitely one of Cap's top 10 villains, and this is one of those stories that helps add to that mythos.
Right.
All right, Bob. So I go first.
Yeah. What's your favorite panel, my friend?
Well, I you're not gonna believe this. My favorite panel is page 2, panel 6.
Ooh.
And that is the one of Cap upside down saying, I'm feeling too good to give you an argument. And he's just flipping himself over over the cab.
Yeah.
And it's just so ridiculous in so many ways. Like Cap's so happy he's gonna do a somersault over the taxi. And on top of that, he's got these checkered polyester pants
Yeah.
while he's doing it. So it's
He's full of juice and cutting loose, Rick.
I know. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just found that panel to be fun.
Right. Right. Good. I like that. Yeah. It's fun, right?
Yeah.
When you run across a panel that tickles you or yeah, it just brings a little smile to your face. Those are invaluable. So.
How about you, Bob? What's your favorite
Well,
panel?
I had to go. I'm working out of the omnibus here, so I think it's around page 10. But it's when Steve is at Sharon's parents' home, which very awkward. Like Steve has
Yeah.
no shame, right?
Yeah.
Right, no shame. Just recently broke Peggy's heart, but that's okay. I'm going
And
here.
I've pissed off your other daughter too.
Right. I'm just gonna go hang out at your parents' house, but I love the at the bottom of that page. There's several panels, so I'll just pick the middle one. But I love the fact that Steve not only is a serviceable commercial artist, but he can also bespoke himself his own uniform, right? So he's
Mm-hmm.
cutting fabric and he's sewing and he does a pretty good job coming up with the Nomad uniform. So not only has he designed it, but he he sewed it together himself. So he is really a Renaissance man. He can do it all.
He really is. And I like the fact that you picked the middle one. You didn't do it for this reason, but also what's great about that middle panel is I hope a bat doesn't fly in my window or I'll be in big trouble.
Right, right. That's
That's just
clever, right?
there you go.
A little chef's
Add,
kiss.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
All right, what's going on in t-shirt?
Ooh, well, it's the it's page 16. Again, I'm in the omnibus, so that's like page 703 in the omnibus, but it's the one where he's fighting with Serpent Squad in front of the movie screen. It's that bottom right panel
Mm-hmm.
where we've got Captain America holding the flag on the screen behind him, and he's wrestling with the python, and he says, all I can do is stand firm, try to take things as they come, and believe what I'm doing is right. That's perfect, right?
That's
great,
good advice for any of us.
it really is. It's a good sentiment. Why not put it on a bumper sticker and a t-shirt? So, and you got both Nomad and Cap in the same shot. So
Can't go wrong.
can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about yourself?
Oh, I'm putting the cover on a t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
That's a classic cover. We did Cap Madness. We did I don't know the third year maybe we did favorite covers. I do think this one definitely made it to the bracket. I don't know how far it got, but yeah, this was a favorite cover. It is iconic, as you mentioned before. So that's going on my t-shirt.
You don't see a lot of folks cosplaying this, but there should be more. It's hard to pull off that V-neck though.
Well, because you have to shave your chest.
Yeah,
I mean,
you got
who wants to do that?
Yeah, that's a lot of prep. So
Yeah.
you just wear one of those fake muscle shirts under. I'd have to do that. So this will just twofer. Yeah. How about time capsule?
Well, Bob, as I mentioned, there are a lot of firsts in this one.
Indeed.
So I could go with the low-hanging fruit.
There's a lot of low-hanging fruits.
Where first time Cap Steve in the uniform of Nomad.
Mm-hmm.
That's tempting.
Yeah.
Another first, believe it or not. I don't know if you know this. This is the first appearance of Roxanne.
Right. Yeah. Roxanne. Yeah, I love that song.
Right. And so, that's interesting because Roxanne goes on to be
Major villainess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not where I'm going. I'm going with another first, Bob.
Ooh, okay.
And that is going to be page 4, panel 2. And that is when Madam Hydra zoom in on her face
Yeah.
and she says, I take the name of Viper.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
she has been known. It's like me on the first day of high school
Right.
where I became Rick,
Yeah.
and I've been known as Rick ever since. She's been known as Viper ever since.
Right. Yeah. No, that's right. Right. And she has actually.
Yeah.
Although I do think what did she became something different in the last 10 years or so. I can't remember what it was. It had to do with some weird ancient creature or something. I can't remember what it was now. I think it was in the
That's the Secret Empire story.
no, it was one with when Bucky died and the what was the I can't even remember that event. This with sin.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go with the phone bill, Rick.
Okay.
We talked
Yeah.
about that. I
Yeah.
love that because like people would pick that up these days and be like, "What on earth are they talking about?" Phone bill, running up the
Mm-hmm.
phone bill. Like, what's it matter, right? And it is remarkable if you stop to think about it for guys like us of a certain age that grew up in that time when and even when cell phones first came. Remember when cell phones first came out and you had like a cell phone plan and you only had so many minutes,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
right?
you're checking your minutes.
Checking your minutes at
I
the end
only
of the
have
month,
3 minutes left for this whole rest of the month.
right? Like kids these days, they have no idea,
No idea.
the things that we had to put up with,
I tell you,
to,
life was tough.
to stay in touch.
Uh, Bob, so anyway, everybody come back in a few, let's see, come back episode 248, and we will do the next issue, part 6 of this, Captain America 181. So make sure you come back episode 248 to get that. Bob, want to end the program with a question from one of our listeners.
Ooh.
So if you want to send a question, you can send it into just send us an email at capcomicfans@gmail.com. And I will, I think the email is also in the show notes. But yeah, send us an email with something in the subject line of question for the show or something like that. And maybe we will answer your question. Grant Ball sent this in. He said, "If you could insert yourself into a future Cap book, what would you like your comic self to do?"
Mm.
And then he gave some suggestions: get saved by Cap, be a helpful bystander, tell Cap he needs to have emissions done on his motorcycle.
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Uh, but I do have something in mind. Something, and this is intensely personal, Rick. But
Mm.
but like I'm a retired Marine, and I've struggled for years with this idea of moral injury. This idea that I feel let down by my country, and as Steve Rogers has from time to time.
Hmm.
And so if I could create a character that would interact with Cap in the comic books, it would be a character that is sort of a former soldier or former Marine.
Well, that's not the question, though, Bob. The question
Yes,
is,
yeah,
if you can insert yourself,
yes,
Bob Lucius, in the
yes.
comic.
All right, well, insert me in that role
All
then.
right.
In that characterization, and somebody that interacts with Cap and wants to know how he does it, like how he keeps sacrificing and giving for the ideal when at every turn it's a disappointment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Obviously that's very deep and would take a certain finesse of a certain kind of writer to be able to pull that off. But yeah, that's what I would go for.
I love it. I really do love it. And it kind of made me think of um, a certain kind of writer, David Morrell,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
right.
Because we had him on the show. He wrote The Chosen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be perfect for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
something
love
like
the
that.
idea. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Well, what about you?
Um, I think I would take this into less serious, a little bit more fun and adventurous, and it would be me and you and several of our listeners,
Nice.
because you and I, Cap would meet us as people who do a podcast about him. And so Rick and Bob
Yeah.
will show up,
Yeah.
and one of our listeners uh, gets gets kidnapped,
Yeah.
and so we go to Cap for help, and then we then it's kind of like a who done it.
Yeah.
Is it was it this listener? Was it that listener? Was it this listener? Maybe it was
Right.
Grant Ball.
Wow.
You
Could
know,
be. Yeah. I like it.
and so many of our listeners who have called into the show or appeared on the show would also be part of it.
Yeah. I like that. I like that.
And
That's a
then
great idea.
who would end up being Bob?
Tom Boyd.
There you go. Oi! You said you didn't like Diamondback.
Right. Yeah.
Curses you.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And then maybe we could invite Cap back to be the fourth on the next fantasy draft. So,
Yeah, that'd be great.
See who he picks. Oh, that's a terrible choice.
I wanted Sergeant Muldoon. All right. Well, it's been a lot of fun wrapping Cap with you, Bob.
It has. I can't wait till next week.
All right. He's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbanis. And if you don't mind, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. And don't forget to send us a question at capcomicfans@gmail.com. And also, 5-star review on Apple. Give us a thumbs up if you're on YouTube. All of that is greatly appreciated. And as always, we thank you for listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. So now it's my turn for the grand juries and subcommittees, huh? I think well, that's not a good voice for him.
Maybe you need a little bit of a lisp.
Well, he's an ad executive, so.
True. Just use your own voice.
Shut up.